Hi friends, how are you? We have a book right here. October is almost over. Can you believe that? Since it's the end of the month, I want to do an October wrap up with me, as well as a November planning with me, so I can share with you a little bit about my planning process and the reflection process. And in that way, maybe it can inspire you to be more focused in the last 2 months of 2020 for you, and maybe you can catch up a little bit, get more things done, and have a fulfilled the last 2 months of 2020. So if you want to, you can go grab a cake or a cup of tea or coffee, any kind of hot beverage that you have, and you can join me in this cozy planning with me. Today is the first day in a long time that I feel a little bit chill in the morning, so I decided to get a cup of hot yerba mate instead of coffee. Yerba mate goes really well with cake, so yeah, let me take a sip and have a bite before we start. So today I'm going to go through all the goals that I set up in the beginning of the 2020, and then to see what's still realistic and relevant as of now, and then what can be deleted from at least this year's of planning. I've been learning about planning for several years now, and I don't think I'm the only one suffer from this. Sometimes we want to accomplish so much that we have a huge to-do list, and when we cannot achieve certain things, we didn't cross out our to-do list, and planning becomes something that feels a little bit dreadful, and then we start neglecting our planner. Just like my planner, there are certain months that you will see it's much more empty, and it usually happens when I have a very chaotic weeks and months. So throughout the year, I start learning about priority and more attuned with myself, and I'm willing to give up certain things that I really want to do but I don't have the time to do, and then carve out that piece of energy for my priority, which is writing and reading. And the writing and reading is probably the only two things that I was able to maintain in a daily basis with my YouTube and then day job. So I'm going to go through all the goals. When I read through all my goals, one of the goals that stand out that's so unrealistic and it's in a very illogical way that I set up is YouTube hit 100k. I think it's because in the beginning of this year my YouTube just hit 1,000, and I heard people saying that once you hit 1,000 it will grow faster, and I told myself, let's get 100k. By the way, I realized I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Nani. I'm a writer-director based in Los Angeles, and if you want to know more about me, you can go to my website or check out my film in the description down below. So to be honest, when the time I set up the goal of YouTube hit 100k, I thought to myself that this is a little bit not the correct way of planning. I could have planning on release how many YouTube video, because those are things I can actually manage. But however, how many people who actually go in on my YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel, that's not something I can actively managing. I think that's something I should learn to keep in mind. We only can plan things that we can actively control. We can still have big goals, the goals that impact by other people, the goals that maybe more relate to certain outside forces instead of just us. Those are the goals we're trying to approach, but it cannot be something that we plan determined to hit the goal on our planner. I hope that makes sense. So instead of giving myself a specific number for my YouTube channel, my goal should be more specific, like I want to release one video a week. That would be more approachable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this goal, scratch it off, change it to release one video a week towards the end of the year. So now I'm going to go through all these lists and check mark the things that I want to keep on going to do towards the end of the year, and then cross out things I want to give up towards the end of the year. The first thing is my 24 books goal. and I do think I can hit the goals because I've been reading a lot. So I'm going to check mark that goal. So the second one is I want to have one completed screenplay with 2 outline for other 2 stories. I'm not 100% sure if I can still do the 2 outlines. My biggest goal towards the end of the year probably is that one complete screenplay. When I say complete, I want the screenplay reach to a point that I can send it to screenwriting contests and fellowships. So I'm going to check mark this one, but I'm going to cross out the other 2. I'm only going to highlight one completed screenplay. I'm also going to cross out running email newsletter. I started my email newsletter several years ago, but it's really hard for me to maintain. I want to see if I can add it back next year or maybe towards the end of this year, but I wouldn't do it on a weekly basis. And if you subscribe to my email newsletter, thank you so much, and I will be sure start release email newsletter at one point again, and then to share more stuff with you on the newsletter. But as for now, my priority is still writing, finish my screenplay. And I've been studying English grammar book, and for that task, I do not see I can finish the entire book towards the end of the year, but I'm going to still keep that as a habit task. I just want to keep going every single day, and I'm going to check that one. My next goal is more of a financial goal of how much money I want to save in my 401k, and I think I'm pretty much on track on that one. So I'm going to keep a check mark and then going to finish that goal towards the end of the year. And then the French class goal, I have been taking the French class. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm also going to check mark that one because carve out half hour each day is not that much of a problem for me to take the class. Usually I took my French class during the lunch break at my day job, so I think that can keep going throughout the next 2 months. And the next goal is the Artist Mind Reset workbook. I don't know if you are here with me in 2020, but if you're new, Artist Mind Reset workbook was something I released in the beginning of 2020 along with some videos, and a lot of people really liked it. I meant to update all the content in there, make a brand new workbook, and I released it again every single year, and it didn't work out since I started taking on day job towards the end of 2020. I'm thinking about to bring it back for the beginning of next year, so that's something I want to work on for sure. I'm going to put a check mark there. Based on last month of planning, I do think it's doable. And then the next goal is to release my feature film and to have a film launch campaign, which is done in March, so that one's crossed out already, which we don't need to spend any time and energy in the next 2 months for that. And if you're interested in checking out my film, it's on Apple TV and Amazon, and you can watch the film through the link in the description down below. It's also on cable TV as well, so if you still have TV at home. And then here I have an experimental goal session. It says find a routine that works for uncertainty, and I think that goal right now at least I feel achieved. Because I have very uncertain day job schedule every single week, and now I'm able to manage to produce one video a week and then write every single day. So I think that's a win of this year. I'm also marked out this one as I finished this experimental goal, and I'm just going to keep going with my current way of scheduling. So now I'm going to start reflecting on October. So in October, the main thing I was focusing on is my writing, and then to break down the entire screenplay. With this book, I'm already halfway done. Currently, I'm working on analyzing the story world, and then later I will work on the symbol web. If you're interested, you can check out this book, John Truby's Anatomy of Story. I talk about this book all the time. I really think my first feature screenplay was able to get where it at. Not because film school, we didn't really learn much about screenwriting besides just write in film school. I feel the feature screenplay writing, fiction story writing, I learned mostly it's from this book. Highly recommend this book. And then now I have another half of it need to finish, and I'm planning on finishing that in the middle November. So October, what I've been focusing on is break down my screenplay. And then October, I also focused on publishing YouTube video once a week, which I did it. That's a big win for me as well. And then the third thing I think I did a pretty good job on October is my reading. I've been spending a lot of time reading, and I do feel my reading speed picked up a little bit. As you might already know, my English is not my first language, but I really want to practice reading in English. My reading speed is below the average of American English speaker. So I try my best to practice keep my comprehension at the same time, pick up the speed a little bit. Right now my reading speed is at the bottom line of the English speaker, but I want to make sure to keep practicing that throughout the rest of the year. Now that I checked everything that I know I need to focus on towards the end of the year, usually I flip to the beginning of the November and then to copy everything down. So once I list all the goals onto my November page, in that way I can have one glance and know what I need to focus on, and all of these things are listed with the priority in mind. So in that way, if I know I have to give up something, I go from bottom to top. And the next thing I want to reflect on is in October, what I can do better. I think in October there was still a huge chunk of the time that's lost because I don't rest properly. Sometimes when I was so tired to come back from my day job, I would lie in the bed, but somehow I have a habit of lying in the bed and pick up my phone, and I start scrolling on the phone. However, I deleted TikTok and YouTube from my phone. I only kept Instagram because I've been doing daily writing check-in on Instagram. So in that way, when I lie down, I can actually take a nap instead of wasting half hour on the phone, or sometimes even an hour or more. I find myself still keep doing is even I don't have those apps, I find myself lying down and start scrolling on phone for nothing and then just turn it on and off with a lot of anxiety until I fall asleep. Taking nap is very important for me because I generally write in the morning and I go to day job, and then after that I feel exhausted. If I can take a proper short nap, I can wake up again and have 1 or 2 hours of very sharp energy that I can focus on doing something. So that's what I want to focus on achieve in November, and then that's what I'm missing in October. One thing I was thinking maybe I can try is instead of carrying my phone with me in the bedroom, maybe I can carry a book with me. If I find myself having a hard time fall asleep, maybe I can read book a little bit until I get exhausted, and if I can take a 20 minutes nap, I will have 2 more hours of energy to study or doing something that's more meaningful. That's the thing I'm going to reflecting on here. So when I flip to this page, I know that's what I need to focus on to kind of adjust in November. Based on the yearly goals that I have listed here and things I want to do better, and also by knowing my recent schedules, I'm going to write down my November focus, only for November, not the December. So I'm going to make a list of to-dos. So things I want to focus on November is finish John Truby by the mid-November, and then start new draft by 15th of November. So in that way I can finish at least 2 drafts by the end of the year. Read 1 hour daily, which just maintaining what I'm doing, and then 10 minutes a day for English study. I don't spend that much of time, and I don't even carve out time to do my English study. I use my phone and I keep a little notebook in my wallet. So So in that way, whenever I have spare time waiting for something to happen, that's when I pull out my phone or my notebook to memorize a couple of vocabulary and then study a little bit new phrases here and there. So for the English study, 10 minutes a day, it's more than enough. French class, I'm only going to do it during my lunch break at the day job. So in that way, I don't need to carve out my working hours outside of day job to do that. And the Artist Mind Reset Workbook sheets update. Now I feel very refreshed and very focused on November. One thing I think is very important about planning is we can't beat ourselves up over things we cannot accomplish. Just like what I did, I knew I was overpromising myself in the beginning of the year, and I do not want to beat myself up over that, because once I do that, it's more likely for me to give up on everything, all the goals. So what I like to do is to treat all the goals I set up as an experiment, more checking in with myself every single month, delete goals, changing goals, tweaking goals. Planning never should be something that you have to do it specific, exactly on point. Planning should be flexible. It's more of a map towards a goal that you want to achieve, but how you want to take on this journey, where you want to stop, whatever side path you want to take in order to have more experience or learn more stuff, that's totally okay too. It just means it might take a little longer to reach the goal, but as long as you always have all the goals listed and it's in mind, and always making adjustment, eventually you will be there, and you will be there in a way that have more compassion towards yourself. And then when you have more compassion towards yourself, you'll see the wins more than you see the failures, and then that will boost your motivation. And now, after I went through all the goals, things I did good in October, and the things I want to improve for the next month, I'm going to do a quick weekly planning to show you my weekly planning flow. So I use Google Calendar, and this is the very last week of October. I haven't done the planning yesterday. Normally I do the planning on Sunday because I want to save the empty canvas for today's recording session. As you can see, the orange one is on my day job schedule. Usually I get day job schedule 1 or 2 weeks ahead of the time, and then it will appear on my calendar. And I already set up get up, coffee and reading session, writing for every single day for a certain amount of time, and then there's time for meal and nap, and then there's also time for French class, dinner, and then evening reading. Those are the things I do on a regular basis, so I set them up for the entire year. In that way, when I go into a new week, all I need to do is to drag them around and adjusting the hours, instead of to go in there typing in every single task repeatedly every single week. So today I woke up at 6 o'clock. I made a coffee. I took a shower also, so I'm going to extend this time a little longer. And I did my writing from around almost 8 to 9:30. And usually if I work in the afternoon at my day job, I do not take my nap. So I'm going to delete this nap event. And then for the small meal, I will do it right before my day job starts, which you can see I'm about to go to work now. And then I will set up for YouTube recording this morning. I will take my French class today at my day job, so I will put it in the middle, overlap with it. And tonight I will be back home around 8:30, and that's when I take my dinner for 1 hour, and then I will have my evening reading. And tomorrow, usually I want to make sure I sleep at least for 7 hours, so if I went to bed around 9:30 to 10:30, I'm going to get up at 6, and in that way I can do an hour of writing before my day job. I think I'm going to get up a little bit early. Now I'm going to get rid of the morning reading. Now I also have therapy session tomorrow, so I'm going to move my nap after my therapy tomorrow. So I will set up editing after a nap tomorrow, and I won't take French class because I don't have a long shift and I don't have lunch break tomorrow. Now I have a very early dinner because next day, as you can see, my work start at 5, so I need to get up really early. So I should have a very quick dinner and went to bed with my book around 6. And I'll be getting up at 2:45 and do my morning writing right after. And I also won't have my morning reading. I'll move this to the weekend. I also trying to watch 2 movies a week. That's why I have to watch movies set up for the week as well. For a small meal, take a nap afterwards, and do more editing. And I can have a French class move to up above here during my lunch break. So once again, I'm getting up very early next day, so I'll have an early dinner again, my evening reading time. I'm just going to quickly finish up all of these. So this is pretty much it. This is how I planning my month and the weeks, more of focusing on my yearly goal, and especially make sure it's writing focused. As you can see on my weekly calendar, I write every single morning and I want to make sure that happens. Put the best energy in my writing every single day. I hope this video is helpful, and then if you are interested in seeing how I set up my yearly goals, you can click this video right here for my 2020 yearly goals. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you so much for watching today's video. Be patient, be present, stay creative. I'll see you next week. Bye. Beep.